on International Tit Bits on Atlantic Television Network. This is a show where we bring you news, events, and stories from across the world. Here we ensure that the real on-time news are packaged for the viewing pleasure of the people. And today on this show, I won't be doing it alone. I have my co-anchor, Anita Obari. Anita, thank you for joining me today. And going direct to the headlines for today. This one is coming from Uganda. Man charges with aggravated homosexuality. And from Congo, militia fighters attack village in northeastern, claim 14. And from Sudan, Army chief gives rare public speech.
From Egypt, parties criticize government in rare acts of public dissent. At the G20 summit, Putin will not attend Delhi's summit, says Modi. From Indonesia, girls tonjure in school for wearing hijab incorrectly.
There's and many more stories we'll be looking at when we return from this short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is International Tit Bits on Atlantic Television Network, and now to our stories. A 20-year-old man has become the first Ugandan to be charged with aggravated homosexuality, an offense punishable by death under the country's recently enacted anti-gay law, prosecutors and his lawyers said. Defying pressure from Western government and right organization Uganda, in May enacted one of the world's hardest laws targeting the LGBTQ community. It prescribed life in prison for same-sex intercourse. The death penalty can apply in case them aggravated with include repeat offenses, gay sex that transmitted terminal illness, or same-sex intercourse with a minor, and elderly persons or a person with disability. According to the charge sheet seen by reporters, the defendants were charged on August 18 with aggravated homosexuality after they performed unlawful sexual intercourse with a 41-year-old man. It did not specify why the act was considered aggravated. Since it is a capital offense terrible by the High Court, the charge was read out and explained to him in a magistrate court on 18, and he was reminded at Jacqueline Okuli, spokesperson for the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, told reporters. Okuli did not provide additional details about the case. She said she was not aware of anyone else having any previously charged with aggravated homosexuality.
Fighters for a militia group attacked a village in northeastern Congo, setting off a battle with 14 people, the army said Monday, the latest bloodshed in the country's relative east. Colonel Mapela Vianama said armed men from the Codeco militia assaulted Galbu village on Sunday evening, killing 9 civilians and 1 Congolese soldier. 4 attackers also died in the fighting, while 2 soldiers and 2 civilians were wounded, he said. Violence has been surging across eastern Congo, where conflict has flared for decades. More than 120 armed groups are fighting in the region, most for land and control of mines with valuable minerals, while some groups are trying to protect their communities. Codeco is a loose association of ethnic Lendu militia groups, and since 2017, it has been fighting with Zaire, a mainly ethnic Hema self-defense group. Codeco attacks killed nearly 1,800 people and wounded more than 500 in the 4 years through 2022, the African Center for the Study and Research on Terrorism says. According to the United Nations, the militia has expanded in recent months. In June, Codeco fighters killed 45 civilians in Congo's Ituri province. Codeco and other groups have killed more than 100 people in the last month in the neighboring North Kivu and Ituri provinces, a local civil society leader, Kinos Katao, said.
The head of Sudan's army announced Monday that they fled the capital during a large military operation as the bloody conflict in the northeast African country enters its 5th month. General Al Baham confirmed that no agreement has been reached with the rival Daglo to facilitate its departure from the capital. I confirmed that my exit from the general command took place without any help, and I did not leave with a deal or any agreement. This was a military action carried out by the army forces, and anyone who said that there is an agreement or that there is a party that helped or that there is a deal is desolational. We have not agreed with the traitors or those outside the Sudanese people. Traitors refers to rapid support forces, and those outside Sudanese, meaning Americans, declared General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan during this rare public speech in the coastal city of Port Sudan. Burhan said the military operation, which enabled him to flee Khartoum, army headquarters, including rival and air forces. The military commander has been one of the impetrates of the conflict. The operation led to army crashes in which 2 people were killed, according to the Sudanese army general.
A new coalition of Egyptian political parties publicly criticized the country's current government Monday for persecuting politicians in a rare act of political dissent. In a news conference Monday, Eman Gad, a spokesman for the Free Current Coalition, said the practices of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi's government represent a severe danger to the political and economic future of our country. Since coming to power in 2013, El-Sisi's government has detained thousands of suspected supporters of the Muslim Brotherhood, the Islamist group banned as a terrorist organization, and also secular activities and dissidents. Rights groups and former prisoners have accused the Egyptian government of deploying brutal tactics to curb dissent, such as forced disappearances, torture, and long-term detentions without trial. The Free Current Coalition was formed in June this year, comprised of an army of mostly liberal opposition parties and figures. One of its leading figures, Hashim Kazem, was detained last week following a public spat with a former government minister. According to the Egyptian Initiative for Personal Rights, a leading rights organization, Kazem will be tried next month with several charges including slander, defamation, and assault on a public servant. We need a new president, a new government, and a new parliament, said Akmal Kotam, chairman of the Conservative Party and a member of the Free Current movement, who was also a news conference. The North African country is expected to hold presidential elections next year, with the vote widely expected to be a foregone conclusion in favor of the incumbent LCC.
Mr. Putin held a phone call with an Indian Prime Minister. Russian President Vladimir Putin had told Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi over a phone call that he will not attend the G20 summit. India is hosting this year's summit, which will be held in capital Delhi from 9 to 10 September. Mr. Putin told Mr. Modi that Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov would attend the summit on his behalf. The two leaders also discussed several regional and global issues of mutual concern, India said in a statement. A Russian government spokesperson has said last week that Mr. Putin would not attend the summit as he had a busy schedule. The G20, including the world's 9th wealthiest countries plus the European Union, India currently held the G20 presidency, which routine annual between members. Russian invasion of Ukraine is expected to be a talk point of the summit in Delhi, where world leaders, including US President Joe Biden and the UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, will be present. Last week, Mr. Putin attended a BRICS summit. BRICS is an acronym for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, held in Johannesburg by video link to avoid the risk of possible arrest by the International Criminal Court. The ICC has issued a warrant against Mr. Putin, accusing him of war crime in Ukraine.
A school on Indonesia's main island has partially shaved the heads of more than a dozen girls. Its headmaster said Monday after they were accused of wearing their Islamic hijab headscarves incorrectly. Activists say Muslim and non-Muslim girls have been forced for 2 years to wear a hijab in conservative parts of the archipelago nation of 270 million people, which moved in 2021 to ban schools from such mandatory dress codes. An unidentified teacher at state-owned junior high school SMPN1 in the East Java town of Lamongan partially shaved the hair of 14 Muslim girls last Wednesday. Headmaster Hato, who like many Indonesians goes by one name, said. The headmaster said the school had apologized and the teacher has been suspended. He said the schoolgirls did not wear inner calves under their headscarves, leaving their fringes visible. There is no obligation for female students to wear hijab, but they were advised to wear the inner calves for neat appearance. We apologized to the parents, and after mediation, we reached a common understanding. The school has promised it would provide students with psychological assistance, he said. Right groups called for the teacher to be sacked. The Lamongan case is probably the most intimidating ever in Indonesia. Andreas Hasono, Indonesia researcher at Human Rights Watch, said in a statement. No teachers who have cut their students' hair have ever been sanctioned. The Education Office in Lamongan should sanction this teacher, at least removing her from the school and assign psychologists to deal with the trauma among the students.
A merciless shopkeeper named Sadek is accused of torturing a teenager kid on suspension or stealing flour. The child was seen on a video being charged by Sadek while being tied to a pole, Army News report. The event took place in a Bara Choko neighborhood of the main Changu. People were stretched by the viral videos and criticized the local authorities for doing nothing about the torture incident. The squad from the city police station arrived on the scene later and quickly took the accused shopkeeper into custody. In June, a video showing a man in Punjab, Christian city, hanging his cousin upside down as punishable for allegedly stealing gold ring circulated on social media. It was found that the man reportedly tortured his relative for stealing gold jewelry. Both the accused and the citizen who is undergoing torture can be seen in the footage. Despite the fact that the video became viral on social media, authorities did nothing to prosecute the suspect. According to report, the incident happened close to the city, a division police station, Army News reports.
Iraq has hanged 3 people convicted for a 2016 bombing that killed more than 320 people in the Baghdad shopping district and was claimed by the ISIS group, the Prime Minister's office said on Monday. The bombing was one of the world's deadliest attacks after the September 11, 2001 attacks on the United States. At least 323 people were killed in the car bombing that sparked raging fires in Baghdad's Karada shopping area early on July 3, 2016, as it teemed with people ahead of the Eid al-Fitr festival ending the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani, during a meeting with victims' families, informed them that a rightful punishment of death sentence was carried out against 3 key criminals found guilty of their involvement in the terrorist bombing, his office said in a statement. It was one of the deadliest attacks to ever hit Iraq. Police Major General Talib Khalil Rahi said at the time that the bombers' minibus had been loaded with plastic explosives and ammonium nitrate.
Taiwan's weather authority warned residents of heavy rain and strong winds starting Wednesday at Typhoon Salo, hit by the island's southern coast on its way to China's southern coast. The typhoon is moving northeast and sustained wind of 162 and gets up to 918. According to Taiwan's Central Weather Bureau, Typhoon I would hit Taiwan's mainland but is expected to gouge its island's southern city with its outer band. The Weather Bureau also warned late Monday night that high waves and swell are expected to make a boat journey dangerous. Heavy rain is expected in Taiwan's eastern and southern area Wednesday going into Thursday. Taiwan's Weather Bureau has also categorized the storm as the mid-strength typhoon and said there is a slight change and the storm could strengthen. The typhoon is then expected to hit southern Fujian and Guangdong province in China's south. Solar caused flooding in the north part of the Philippines in the past few days. Hundreds of people have been displaced, but no casualties have been reported. A major typhoon has not made landfall in Taiwan in the past few years. In July, the island was mostly able to avoid major damage caused by the typhoon Dosuris, which brought widespread flooding, up-down boats, and caused several dozen deaths in both the Philippines and China.
A powerful earthquake and two strong aftershocks rocked Indonesia's resort island of Bali and other parts of the country early Tuesday, causing panic, but no immediate reports of damage or casualties. The U.S. Geological Survey said the quake had a preliminary magnitude of 7.1 and was centered in the Bali Sea, 181 kilometers northeast of Gili Air, a tiny island near the coast of Lombok Island next to Bali. It occurred at a depth of 513.5 kilometers. Indonesia's Meteorological, Climatology and Geophysical Agency said there was no danger of a tsunami, but one of dangers from aftershocks. The agency puts the quake's preliminary magnitude at 7.4. Variations in early measurements are common. The quake was followed by aftershocks of magnitude 5.4 and 5.6 that hit the Bali Sea a few minutes later, just before dawn. Many residents and tourists rushed out of their homes and hotels toward higher ground after reporting powerful shockwaves, but the situation returned to normal after they received text messages saying the quake had no potential to trigger a tsunami. Indonesia, a vast archipelago of 270 million people, is frequently struck by earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and tsunamis because of its location on the Ring of Fire, an arc of volcanoes and fault lines in the Pacific. An earthquake in the hilly Karamgasem in 2021 triggered landslides and cut off at least 3 villages, killing at least 3 people. A magnitude 5.6 earthquake last year killed at least 331 people and injured nearly 600 in West Java's Cianjur city. It was the deadliest in Indonesia since a 2018 quake and tsunami in Sulawesi killed about 4,340 people.
Thailand's best-known human rights campaigner has been found not guilty of criminal defamation, closing a legal saga which latest for 7 years. Anggana Slavagilit is among 22 people who were sued by the poultry businessman over comment about the alleged abuse of migrant workers at his factories. He has lost all but one of the 37 suits he has filed, a record for Thailand. Thailand's pacifist defamation law have long been criticized for citing free speech. It has been described by one as illegal blood sport used by politicians and business people, in particular against journalists and activists who publish anything negative about them. Ms. Angana was cleared on Tuesday along with two other defendants, Bonnie Kanjung and Tanapon Selepoli. They were all accused of the same crime. They had posted a few social media comments in support of the colleague who had also been sued earlier by the same man, Chan Chain Panaton, on a chicken process company called Tamaset. Ms. Tonsi faced a jail term for up to 42 years rather, and Ms. Anga, a member of the Thailand's National Human Rights Commission, up to 8 years.
Japan said Tuesday that harassment being faced by Japanese in China after the release of water from the Fukushima nuclear plant was extremely regrettable, confirming that a brick was thrown at the country's embassy in Beijing. Last week, China banned all seafood imports from its neighbor as Japan began releasing treated wastewater from the crippled plants in Operation Tokyo, and the United Nations nuclear watchdog have said it's safe. Since then, Japan has urged its citizens in China to keep a low profile and has increased security around schools and diplomatic missions. Japan's foreign minister on Tuesday confirmed to media reports that a brick was thrown at its embassy in Beijing and echoed calls from Prime Minister Fumio Kishida on Monday to China to take action to calm the situation. It is extremely regrettable and worrying, Yoshimasa Hayasha told reporters in Tokyo. We would like to urge the Chinese government again to take appropriate measures immediately, such as calling on its citizens to act calmly to prevent the situation from escalating and to take all possible measures to ensure the safety of Chinese residents and our diplomatic missions in China, he said. He added that China should provide accurate information about Fukushima water release rather than unnecessarily raising people's concerns by providing information without any scientific basis.
And a place is not described if you don't know for it, yes. You may not find it, and yet for over 70 years, many Indians in London have sought it out, looking for families, flavor and face and a taste of home abroad. The Indian Club, an ironic lounge, calm restaurant and bar that sit inside the hotel Strand continual on the busy stretch of road in central London, has been a historic and continual significant space for the South Asian. For the Thousands of passengers bound for UK airports remain stranded on Monday following a technical issue that hit the country's air traffic control system, which has since been identified and rammed, but the dispute caused with 100 of flight cancellation is expected to continue into the week. The disruption came on of the busiest traveling day of the year, with many people returning from holiday on the last bank holiday weekend of the summer. The UK's National Air Traffic Service, which has supplied traffic flow restrictions to maintain safety across UK airports, apologized for the disruption caused by the issues on its flights plan. On its flights planning system, which was affecting its ability to automatically process flight plans. It said that the engineers would be monitoring the system performance as it returned to normal. We have identified and remedied the technical issues affecting our flight planning system this morning, NAT said in a statement. We are now working closely with airlines and airports to maintain the flights affected by efficiently as possible. Our engineers will be carefully monitoring the system performance as we return to normal operation, he said. It explained that the flight planning issues affect the system ability to automatically process flight plans. meaning that the flight plans has been to process manually, which cannot be done at the same volume, hence a requirement for traffic flow restrictions.
The French government's decision to ban children from wearing the abaya, the loose-fitting full-length robes worn by some Muslim women in state-run schools, drew applause on Monday from the right, but also criticisms. France has enforced a ban on religious symbols in state schools since 2004 to uphold its strict brand of secularism known as laïcité. The topic is a sensitive one, regularly triggering political tension in the country. Our schools are continually put under test, and over the past months, breaches to laïcité has increased considerably, in particular with pupils wearing religious attire like abayas and kameez. Education Minister Gabriel Attal told a news conference to explain Sunday's ban. The head of the Conservative Les Republicans Party, Eric Selty, was quick to welcome the move, which he said was long overdue. The SNPD and UNSA Union of School Principals welcomed the decision, saying what it needed above all was clarity from the government. Its National Secretary Didier Georges told Reuters. What we wanted from ministers was yes or no. Judges said of the abayas, we are satisfied because a decision was made. But many on the left criticized the move, including Clementine Alton, an MP for the hard-left France Insoumise, who criticized what she called the clothes police and the move characterized by an obsessional rejection of Muslims. And some academics agree the move could be counterproductive, all the more as it touched on clothing they said was worn for fashion or identity rather than religion. It's going to hurt Muslims in general. They will once again feel stigmatized, said sociologist Agnes Delfau, who has been researching French women wearing niqab for the past decades. It's really a shame because people will judge these young girls while the abaya is a teenage expression without consequences.
In a horrifying incident, U.S. police found a molested Army veteran, Danica Dagosson, 33, dead in a Hopkins home last month, just 11 days after her abusive boyfriend was released from jail on parole, according to a complaint filed on Wednesday. The building manager reported grooming, yelling, and banging sound coming from her apartment. The police has named Ms. Dagosson, boyfriend Matthew Scott Berman, as a suspect in connection with her death, according to Fox 10. Police allegedly found Ms. Dagosson's body wrapped in a layer of blanket. The cop also found her 39-year-old boyfriend inside the bathroom, grunting, groaning, and smelling of bread after her death. Ms. Dagosson's father, David Dagosson, told Carrie 11 that Dika Dagosson has a clear moral compass. Everything with her was always black or white. She knew exactly what was right and wrong. Derica's smile was infectious and compassion for animals and passion for learning admirable. Friends Nancy Andrews shared in an obituary page in July. Daraman pleads guilty to 2 separate domestic abuse case in June as part of parole agreement in which he would not contact Dagosson after his release from jail, pending a sentencing hearing scheduled for August 10, reported. This is International Tit Bits on Atlantic Television Network, written after this break. Welcome back. This is International Tit Bits on Atlantic Television Network, and now to the rest of our stories. An American airline pilot flew 5,880 miles from Tokyo to Texas just to reunite a 9-year-old daughter with her lost doll. New York Post reported, notably, the girl-beloved American girl doll, Beatrice, went missing after a family trip. A family fantastically searched through her luggage, hoping to find the doll, but to no avail. A parent had remembered that the last saw the doll was in Tokyo, where she stopped before heading back to Texas after a trip to Indonesia. Beatrice was a big part of life for the past 3 or 4 years. I am feeling sad because she is very sad, said Valentina Danigos, father Rudy Danigos. Seeing her daughter dejected, and the parent posted about the doll on Facebook, hoping to get some lead. Luckily, Jamdani, a pilot from American Airlines, saw the post and contacted the lost and found with Turkish airline at the Henda airport in Tokyo. He located the lost doll and then traveled with it while taking photos with Beatrice, eventually reuniting it with the 9-year-old. The pilot, who happened to live just miles from Danigo's family, drove the doll to her house and handed her to Valentina on August 21st, leaving her overjoyed.
An investigation by the UK's healthcare agency NHS has linked the arrest of a nurse to deaths of 3 babies under suspicious circumstances at a hospital where she worked. According to The Telegraph, the nurse used to work at Birmingham Children's Hospital, but her identity has not been released. The 28-year-old was arrested on suspicion of administering poison with intent to endanger life. This comes shortly after the conviction of another nurse named Lucy Letby on charges of murdering 7 babies. Though the probe was launched last year after the baby's death, the nurse remained under investigation this weekend. She has not yet been taken back by the hospital, and the regulator too had suspended her, which means she cannot work as a nurse elsewhere. All the families of the children involved in the review in Birmingham have been informed, said The Telegraph. In May 2022, a child on the pediatric intensive care unit at Birmingham Children's Hospital deteriorated suddenly and unexpectedly. Due to the circumstances of the deterioration, the trust acted straight away. Dr. Fiona Reynolds, NHS Trust Chief Medical Officer, said in a statement. A member of staff was suspended from work and subsequently arrested at home. Sadly, the child later died, and our thoughts remain with the family, she added.
Donald Trump seeking a return to the White House in In 2024 already has a current political calendar. Now, with the multiple legal drama set to unfold, it is approaching with a point of pure chaos. A federal judge has scheduled a trial for his alleged effort to overturn the 2020 election for 4th March, the day before Super Tuesday, the biggest voting day in the Republican race. That trial in Washington, D.C. would pull Trump off the campaign trail for the pivotal stretch of his campaign, which he would be securing himself as the Republican standard bearer or engage in an extended struggling with one or more remaining virals. Mr. Trump's lawyer has already vigorously complained about proposed trial schedule conflicting with the presidential campaign, which the former president and his supporters have branded election interference by his enemies. Mr. Trump has vowed to appeal the trial date ruling. In a post on his social media site, he trailed the judge as biased and Trump-hating and said timing was just what our corrupt government wanted. Mr. Trump's legal team has initially proposed on April 2026 date for the federal trial, a timeline the judge said was unacceptable, a time-launching Republican campaign date with Trump's court date.
Hours after a Georgia judge said former President Donald Trump and 18 other people are scheduled to be arraigned next week in a state's election interference case, the first defendant pleaded not guilty. Ray Smith, an attorney who represented Trump in 2020 Georgia cases, waived his September 6 arraignment in a Fulton County court filing Monday. Smith was indicted this month along with Trump and 17 other people. They are accused of criminal wrongdoing in connection with attempts to overturn the 2020 presidential election results in the battleground state of Georgia. Smith is charged with 12 counts, 3 of solicitation of violation of oath by public officer, 2 of making false statements, 2 of first-degree conspiracy to commit forgery, 2 of conspiracy to commit false statements in writings, 1 of violation of the Georgia RICO Act, 1 of conspiracy to commit filing false documents, and 1 of conspiracy to commit impersonating public officer. He surrendered Wednesday and was released after having posted a $50,000 bond. A judge said Monday that Trump, along with Rudy Giuliani and other allies of the former president, are scheduled to be arraigned September 6th in 15-minute increments. Trump is scheduled to be arraigned at 9:30 a.m. according to the schedule. It's not yet clear whether Trump's arraignment will be in person or virtual.
College security authorities are investigating multiple cases of disruption to railway traffic after authorities radio signals stopped several trains over the weekend. On some of the signals, the Russian national anthem could repeatedly be heard in the background. Portland Railway is the main transport route for international military support going to neighboring Ukraine, which is fighting Russia's aggression. The network also transports Ukraine agricultural exports to markets further west. Two men in their 20s were arrested Sunday after they granted incoming signal that held from passengers train in Wandago and near Baileys Cork in the northeast. Prosecutors have opened an investigation. One of the 2 suspects arrested was a police officer, and the police in Baoyaktok said Monday which agency has opened a dismissal procedure against him. Similar radio stop signal briefing stop came passengers in Dago train in other regions across Portland over the weekend. In some cases, the Russian anthem could be heard over the intercom, Polish media reported. Authorities say there was no threat to public security and was no hurt.
Murals at 2 LGBTQ centers in Orlando, Florida were defaced with anti-LGBTQ messages and hate symbols over the weekend. The LGBTQ Plus Center Orlando, a non-profit located downtown, published a photo of the vandalism on its Facebook page Saturday morning, calling the incident sad and infuriating. The image shows a colorful rainbow heart mural defaced with black spray paint that includes a homophobic message, a Bible reference, and a Celtic cross, which is a widely recognized symbol associated with white supremacy. It's not the first time it has happened, and even though it is frustrating, we are not going to stop being a beacon of light for our community, the Facebook message reads. Also on Saturday, Zebra Youth, an LGBTQ non-profit located across the street from the LGBT Plus Center Orlando, shared photos of 2 defaced murals on the exterior of its building. The images show black spray paint with anti-LGBTQ messages, Celtic crosses, and a swastika. We will not allow the recent vandalism to our building by a hate group to deter us, the group wrote in a statement shared on Facebook. Zebra Youth stands strong in our dedication to empowering LGBTQ plus youth to become healthy, productive, and self-sufficient individuals. We will never allow hate to win. Progressives
candidate Barano Aravolo was confirmed the winner of Guatemala's presidential election by the country's Supreme Electoral Tribunal on Monday. But the same day, another government body ordered its political party suspended. Arevalo has faced a slew in legal challenges and allegations of irregularities since his unsuspected victory over the candidate favored by the country's consecutive elite. Arevalo appears certain to take office as president on June 14, but it was not clear whether his seat movement's lawmakers could be able to take their seat in the country's Congress. Arevalo called the suspension ruling legal, void, and said its party would appeal it. As of the moment, no one can stop me from taking office on June 14, he told the news conference. The electoral registry ruling across from an investigation into the seat movement by Guatemala Attorney General Officer for alleged irregularities in the gathering of signatures for its formation as a party. If the said party appeal the ruling, as promised, the case will be taken to the Supreme Electoral Tribunal.
Guatemalan prosecutors on Monday arrested the former representative of a United Nations-backed anti-corruption commission that was expelled from the country several years ago. The arrest of Claudia Gonzalez is the latest chapter in the government's systematic pursuit of those who worked with the UN anti-corruption mission, best known by its Spanish initials CICIG. Interviewed outside the courthouse after her arrest, Gonzalez said the charges were strange. She says she was charged with abuse of authority by a public servant when in fact she was not a government employee when she served as legal representative of the CICIG. Gonzalez has most recently been acting as defense attorney for some of the dozens of former anti-corruption prosecutors and officials facing legal actions from the current administration. President Alejandro Giammatte's administration has been accused by civil society organizations and foreign governments of systematically pursuing those who worked with the UN mission. Some 30 judges, magistrates, and prosecutors involved in the investigation or processing of those corruption cases have been forced to flee the country after facing legal action.
Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and other leaders in the tech industry will gather at a Capitol next month for the first in a series of policy forums to discuss ways to regulate artificial intelligence. A spokesperson for Senate Majority Leader Chuck Ma said Monday. In addition to Musk and Zuckerberg, other confirmed chief executives, including Microsoft, Satya Nadella, Alphabet, Sundar Pichai, OpenAI Sam Altman, and Avila James Zach, as well as other Google CEO Eric Schmidt, Musk, the CEO of the SpaceX and Tesla, in a co-founder of major investors in OpenAI, a parent company of the AI chatbot ChatGPT. Zuckerberg is the CEO of Meta and parent company of Facebook. Representative from advocacy, civil rights workers, and creative group also will be at a closed-door Bits Hazim gathering as September 13, organized by the Shamo DNY. A spokesperson said, in circulating some of the biggest names in tech, Chuck Ma planned to make a giant splash for the first of what he dubbed as AI Insights Forum. A discussion will be form a foundation for senators as they begin to draft legislation to regulate the fast-moving AI industry, which experts and lawmakers have said can do enormous good, but can also lead to the mass worker displacement and be used for things like misinformation campaign and election interference.
Thousands Thousands of protesters on cars and motorbikes took to the streets of Colombia's main cities on Monday to reject recent hikes in gasoline prices that have drastically increased the price of fuel in the South American country. Protesters say that a monthly price hike set by Colombia's first leftist government are making it harder for small businesses to operate and could push up the price of food. But the government of President Gustavo Petro says the gasoline subsidies cost about $11 billion a year. It says it must eliminate the subsidies to pay debts to the national oil companies Ecopetrol, which produces most of the country's fuel, and to free up more funds for social programs. The protest counters discontent grows with Petro's administration a year after he took office, promising to reduce poverty and make peace with the nation's remaining rebel groups. Petro's administration has struggled to stop violence in rural parts of the country and to boost Colombia's economy, which is expected to grow by just 1% in 2023, according to the International Monetary Fund. This government is making decisions that are anti-business, says Alejandro Mendoza, the manager of a small company that transports frozen fruit and other goods for supermarkets in Colombia. She attended Monday's protest wearing her company's yellow jacket.
In a world's face, scientists say that an 8-centimeter worm has been found alive in the brain of an Australian woman. The string-like structure was pulled from the England-born parent's damaged frontal lobe tissue during the surgery in a Canberra last year. The red parasite could have been there for up to 2 months. Researchers are warning that the case highlighted the increased danger of diseases and infections being passed from animals to people. Everyone in that operation theater got the shock of their lives when the surgeon took some first to pick up an abnormality, and the abnormality turned out to be a dangling live 8-centimeter light red worm, said Sanjaya Sanjayika, an infection disease doctor of Canberra Hospital. Even if you take away the yolk factor, this is a new infection never documented before in a human being. The Ascaris darisi roundworm is common in carpet python, non-venomous snake found across much of Australia. Scientists say the worm most likely caught the ringworm across after collecting a type of native grass, Rarigal green, beside a lake where she lives. Writing in a journal Emerging Infection Diseases, Mayhav Hassan, an Australian expert in parapsychology, said they suspect the woman became an accident host after using a footage plant contaminated by the python feces and parasite egg for cooking. A began that doctor has called an unusual constellation of the symptoms of stomach pain, a cough, night sweats, and diarrhea that escalated into increasing forcefulness and worsening depression. That's all we have for you from International Tit Bits. Thank you, Anita, for joining me today. In case you missed out in any of the stories, you can follow our social media platform, Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok at Atlantic TV Network 1, Twitter at Atlantic TV Net, or you can watch us live on our website at atlanticnetwork.tv. Do remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. I am Immaculate Tyrikana. Thank you for watching.